By the end of this video, you'll know whether print on demand is still one of the smartest online businesses to start in 2026, or whether you should avoid it entirely. The answer surprised me during my research.
I want you to imagine just for a second that you're cruising in a brand new Bugatti, one you probably rented, right? Through the sunny streets of Dubai, all while passive income just magically flows into your bank account. We've all seen those crazy claims all over the internet. Well, welcome to this explainer where we're going to take those grand get-rich-quick promises and just toss them right out the window. Today, we're looking at the grounded, step-by-step reality of building an actual print-on-demand business. No fluff, no hype. Just the pure mechanics of how this model really works, backed by decades of solid business experience.
Okay, let's dive right into this by tackling the absolute elephant in the room. Is print-on-demand just too saturated for new sellers in 2026? Look, it's the very first question everyone asks. And hey, it's a completely valid concern. But as we unpack the data today, you're going to see that saturation is kind of just a buzzword. It's usually thrown around by folks who simply didn't put in the proper groundwork.
Honestly, the biggest difference between stores that vanish overnight and stores that actually thrive, it's not luck, it's marketing. Literally, anyone can just slap a design up on a website and hope for the best. But true success, that requires strategic marketing, protecting your profit margins like your life depends on it, and putting in the hard work to really stand out. This isn't about making a quick buck, it's about building a real, sustainable business from the ground up.
So here is our structured roadmap for today. We'll start with a foundation, move into winning designs, talk about your storefront strategy, dive deep into marketing and profit, and finally look at how to absolutely succeed in 2026.
Act 1, the Print-on-Demand Foundation. Let's get into it.
Before we even think about scaling a business, we've got to understand the underlying mechanics of the market we're entering. $40 billion. Think about that number for a second. The global print-on-demand market was recently valued at around $6 billion, but it's projected to absolutely skyrocket to $40 billion by 2031. Why does this matter to you? Because catching the wave of a massively growing market gives you a tremendous advantage right out of the gate.
So the crucial point here is understanding exactly how this whole thing works. Print-on-demand is, for all intents and purposes, a risk-free business model. You don't need a massive factory, and you definitely don't need a basement crammed full of unsold inventory. You only pay for a product after a customer has already paid you for it. Your supplier then prints your unique design and ships it directly to the buyer's doorstep. It literally eliminates the need for any upfront capital. How cool is that?
All right, moving right along to Act 2, designing a winning product. Here's the truth. Not all products are created equal. Your absolute baseline goal should be a 20 to 30% profit margin. Things like greeting cards or calendars, they're highly seasonal. And items like mugs, phone cases, and stationery generally sell for so little that it's incredibly hard to build a healthy margin. You got to avoid those traps. Instead, you want to target high-margin items. We're talking clothing and wall art. It is so much easier to inflate the perceived value of these items, very much like modern artists and luxury designer brands do.
So once you've picked a high-margin product, how do you actually design the thing? Well, you've got 4 main paths. You can use free tools like Canva, you can buy existing source files, leverage AI tools like Midjourney for some incredibly unique generations, or just hire freelancers. And keep this philosophy in mind. Good artists copy, great artists steal. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Research what's already selling like crazy, pull proven elements together, maybe a font from one best-selling shirt, a color palette from another, and just combine them to create your own unique high-demand design.
Which brings us to Act 3, building your storefront. To build that storefront, you're first going to need a super reliable print provider, someone like Gelato, who handles local production in over 32 countries, which massively cuts down on shipping times and headaches. And this brilliantly illustrates the next big choice: where to actually list your products. It basically comes down to Etsy versus Shopify. Listen, beginners should almost always start with Etsy. It is the ultimate testing ground. Etsy had over 46 million visitors in a single month recently. The traffic is already built in. Yes, the competition is high, but honestly, that just forces you to hone your design skills. Shopify, on the other hand, that's the end game. That's your own dedicated website where you actually own the customer data, but it requires you to drive 100% of your own traffic. So start on Etsy to validate your ideas, and then graduate to Shopify. Now for Act 4, marketing and profit first. This is absolutely critical. Generating top-line revenue means absolutely nothing if your profit margins are getting eaten alive. So when you're finally ready to market, follow this specific life cycle. First step, no exceptions. Order samples to verify the quality. You have to know what you're selling. Then, build organic content across TikTok, Instagram Reels, Pinterest, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. The trick here is to tell an entertaining story around your product. Don't just show a boring picture of it. Once that organic data actually shows you what people are reacting to, then you can safely budget and scale up with paid ads. Seriously, running paid ads too early, before you even know if your product converts, is a surefire way to completely drain your bank account.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is looking at the real-world math. Let's take a $49.99 piece of wall art. Subtract $25.30 for production and another $6.98 for shipping. Add in your platform fees, your taxes, and account for potential returns, and your actual take-home profit is $12.42. That comes out to a solid 25% profit margin. And this is exactly why you cannot afford to obsess over vanity revenue metrics. You absolutely must know where every single dollar is going. You've also got to factor in your own advertising costs right on top of those platform fees. If you're selling on Etsy, you're looking at a 6.5% transaction fee on both the item price and the shipping price, plus a 3% payment processing fee and a whopping 15% fee if a customer happens to buy through an Etsy off-site ad. Because of all these hidden costs, trying to undercut your competitors on price is a total fool's game. Protect those margins, guys, or you're literally going to be working for less than minimum wage. So let's quickly review the most fatal beginner mistakes we see all the time. Trying to be a jack of all trades by selling absolutely everything, changing your niches way too quickly, doing poor product research, or just straight up copying competitors instead of innovating. Expecting instant overnight success and ignoring your customers' feedback are also huge red flags. But you know what the single biggest mistake is? Giving up too early. Building a real profitable business takes time, endless testing, and just immense patience.
Finally, Act 5, succeeding in 2026.
Let's just debunk this saturation myth once and for all. You haven't experienced true market saturation until you have personally posted at least 1,000 unique listings. Markets evolve constantly. Continuous execution, relentless testing, and tweaking your designs based on actual data, that will always beat a so-called saturated market. Execution simply matters way more than ideas. The hard truth is, most people who complain about saturation just haven't put in enough reps to carve out their own space yet.
Let's move to and see how this builds into your complete master plan for 2026. Learn the business model inside and out. Research profitable, hungry niches. Create designs that actually solve customer desires. Choose reliable top-tier suppliers. Build a clean, professional storefront. Drive targeted, organic traffic. Measure your profit, not just your sales. And continuously improve everything based on the data you collect.
To wrap this all up, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative question to chew on. Are you going to chase the illusion of quick wins, or are you actually ready to commit the time and experimentation needed to build a highly profitable long-term business? Print on demand is incredibly powerful, but it demands real persistence. Keep testing, protect your margins at all costs, and trust the process. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.